Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's time for the Brown Sports Bag. From the heart of the Barrens, a weekly local sports machine. Alongside John Butler, here's your host, James Brown.
Well, here today, we have some special guests in the studio with us. John's going to be on the show a little bit later, but we're starting out today with Makayla Epps. Some of you may have heard that name before. She played basketball at Marion County, won 2 state championships. Were you there? One. Oh, my gosh. The other one. Oh, yeah, that's right. You guys lost when you were supposed to win, right?
Exactly, yep.
Sorry, didn't mean to bring that up.
That's all right.
We got Makayla Epps and Nathaniel Goodman here. Makayla is in town to talk to us here, but she'll be back on Saturday, right, for a skills clinic she's doing at the Hero Center for the Boys and Girls Club here, which is pretty awesome, I got to say. But let's start out like this. Nate, tell me what this is and to kind of explain to me how this came about for you guys to get Makayla here and do this skills clinic.
Well, as you know, I've had a lot of involvement in girls basketball over the last 4 or 5 years here in the community.
Yeah.
And, there's been a need for camps. It is a co-ed camp, but obviously we've attracted a lot more girls this time than boys, which is good because we want to put some stuff on for these girls. And so my daughter Jordy actually attended Makayla's camp in Danville several weeks ago, and I just shot the idea to her about coming down and doing some stuff in this area. I knew that there would be a good response to it.
Mm-hmm.
And we posted the camp on social media less than 2 weeks before we were supposed to have it, and sold it out in 3 days. The youngest age group we sold out in 24 hours. So that kind of shows that demand. But we wanted to bring a high level camp with a high level instructor to the area. And so Glasgow and Bowling Green area has responded well. We've got girls signed up from everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna see some Bowling Green High girls there. Several of the our Lady Scotties are gonna be there. We got Hart County girls, Caverna girls,
Woodford County Lady Jackets is coming.
Woodford County. I've got some kids coming from Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
So man, it's been, I probably ventured off of whatever your original question was there, but
that's all right.
We've had a great response, and it's something that we're gonna continue to try to do for the kids in this community.
So what are kind of the parameters? I know you said you sold out, but I'm guessing it's been so popular, you'll probably try to want to do this again, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, what are the parameters for the next time around? What are kind of things you doing?
Well, we wanted to limit it. We're having 2 sessions. The first session is for kindergarten through 6th grade, and that second session is for 7th grade through seniors in high school. And we limited it to 30 participants for each session, so that we can try to accommodate the social distancing guidelines and all the COVID regulations. We got such a demand, such a quick response from everybody. We opened up a few more slots. But yeah, so we had to limit it. We really want to have to keep it under 40 kids per each session.
Yeah.
And we've done that. And, the gym at the Hero Center is big enough that people can spread out. They will, every time they change stations, there's a hand washing station. We'll have sanitizer there to wipe the balls down. We're encouraging every kid to bring their own ball. If not, we'll have a few available. But we've put that out there. We want kids to bring their own ball, and we're going to be as safe as possible.
So, Makayla, how did you kind of get into doing these skills clinics? Because I mean, we talked about the Marion County, but you played at Kentucky, played for the Chicago Sky.
Yep.
And now you're an assistant at Woodford County. But how did you kind of get into doing this kind of thing?
Once basketball stopped for me, in the standpoint of me actually being the player on the court, I knew that my job wasn't done. Not even as me being a player on the court, because that's not done as well. But in that given moment, I knew that I needed to do something to keep me around it, something to keep me positive about it, because when I had lost it, it kind of put me in a negative state. But I just needed to do something to keep the love of the game in my heart. So Of course, I put in a couple applications to be a coach because, every player always wants to be a coach to see it from the other side of the line. So I definitely did that. And then, man, you just don't see kids that know the basics.
Right.
And I'm talking about just right, left hand. Can you dribble it 10 times with your right? Can you dribble it 10 times with your left? Mm-hmm. So a lot of kids, the coaches and instructors they skip a lot of the fundamentals, the foundation, and then, they want their kid to work out with me, and they're 13 and can't dribble. So, so I see a lot of that. And, people talk about it. I'm sure the state of Kentucky, the talent in itself is just down. Mm-hmm. Going in my junior and senior year, the talent started depleting. And then when I come back and see games now, even the team that I coach, the talent has just really just depleted for multiple reasons. And so I just wanted to be that mentor, that skills instructor, that person to where, if I can do individual trainings 2 days a week with 15 kids, that's great. And if I can get out here to Glasgow and Danville, Kentucky, and wherever else, I've gone to as far east, almost to West Virginia, and I did something up there too in the mountains. Mm-hmm. So, wherever people need me, I'm just going to be that resource. And, because I know if I was a kid and somebody like me was just floating around, I would suck to it like a sponge. So I try to just be there for the kids.
Now, you mentioned the basic skills and that kind of stuff, but, you came up in a basketball family. You probably didn't have much choice other than develop those skills early, did you?
It kind of just happened. Everybody thinks that my dad was so on me, and he was the one that was as far off me as he possibly could be. He never pressed my issue about being a player. It came naturally in my genes, and it was just something like I wanted to be good at it. I never once was like, hey, Dad, can we go to the gym? Mm-hmm. Which I wish now I would have been like that, but back when I was growing up, I wanted to prove that I could do it. I know.
Well, we always have a challenge with our parents, don't we? Because we want to prove that we're our own people as part of the process, don't we?
Right. And then, for my instance, growing up my whole life, I'd heard everything so great that he had done, so I was like, all right, he did it, and probably didn't nobody really help him. So, I'm gonna try to do it all while keeping him in my back pocket, close to me, with any help I need.
Yeah, so really then mentioning that, so where did your real love of the game come from? Was it from the fact that your dad played, but you say he didn't really stay on you about it? He kind of gave you the space to do what you wanted to do, huh?
Man, yes. I can say the love of the game came from me. The first day I can remember, my Nana, which is my dad's mom, who passed away in 2012, she one day took a wire coat hanger, or wire hanger, opened it up, made like a circle best she could, put it at the top of a door, closed the door, and gave me a ball of socks and told me to have at it. So literally, I promise you, ever since then, like, basketball just became second nature. Anytime I saw a ball, I was dribbling it, shooting it. My mom did a good job keeping balls around the house. It was just one of them things where as soon as I got the hang of it, I just fell in love with it and went on about it.
Now, you mentioned the Marion County thing. You played at Marion County. I guess that's where you basically grew up, too, was at Marion County, right? Now, your high school coach was Trent Milby. Some folks around here remember him coaching over at Caverna for a little while there, whenever Takara was over there. And then she kind of came to Marion with him, got that ball rolling for you guys, and you guys became a powerhouse around the state. What was kind of the relationship you guys had as a team and with Coach Milby that kind of got you guys rolling?
I can definitely say this. Takara Hayes, which is now Takara Barnes, set the tone and the standard. When she came to Marion County, I was in like the 7th grade, had to have been the 7th grade.
Yeah. And that crew that came through with you guys were middle schoolers, right, whenever she got there.
And she came in and literally set the tone. Like, she showed me, what exceptionally well high school player looked like, how they acted, how they went about their business. When Takara came in, I was like, oh, man, like, we got somebody, because she could really just flat out play, and you could tell it was natural. And she was, like I said, she was real serious about her business. So
she was fiery, too.
Very fiery.
She coached over at Caverna for a little while, and I talked to her. She's still fiery then.
Yes, still to this day is, too. And, like I said, she set the standard. And then, Milby came in. Like I said, one of the most intellectual basketball minds I've ever been around, and we just bought into his system. He knew he had young, talented kids. And so I can't lie to you, that first year that Milby came, he lost probably 5 or 6 seniors, juniors, sophomores, just for the simple fact of he wanted to play the younger, talented kids because we worked harder than the said sophomores, juniors, and seniors. So it all just meshed really well. Nobody really had no problems with Milby. He's vocal, he's fiery, he's passionate.
Yeah.
And, I saw him at the car go head-to-head a couple of times in practice. But other than that, I know it was all for the love of the game, and it was never nothing too personal. But I played high school basketball for Marion County 7 years. Trent Milby was my coach, all 7.
Right.
And, it was just one of them things. We worked very well together as head coach and point guard.
So I'm going to ask you some questions. I'm sure you've already answered it before
good.
in your life, but I probably hadn't paid attention to the answers closely enough. So you ended up choosing Kentucky. And at the time when you chose Kentucky, it was kind of like when you were coming up at Marion County when you were younger. The program hadn't really been on the map very much.
Right.
When you got there with a crew of other people and Kentucky started to be on the rise, what kind of influenced that situation where you guys became a more prominent team, not just in the SEC, but in the nation?
Right. I can't. My freshman year, I didn't really play. And me and Coach Mitchell go back and forth about that all the time. I didn't really play my freshman year, so it was hard for me to adjust going from a 39-0, number 1 team in the state, and the top 4 team in the country. Like, it was hard for me to go from that to I did have a knee injury, which concluded into my not playing so much, along with some other things. But it was after my freshman year. I looked myself in the mirror, and I was just like, I want to play. I didn't come to Kentucky to sit. I didn't come to Kentucky to be second fiddle to nobody. Like, I came to Kentucky to play. And so I fell under the wing heavily of Jen O'Neill. If people remember Jennifer O'Neill from the Bronx, New York, she was a baller. And, again, she set the standard for me in college. Like, she was who I wanted to be, how she carried herself, how she went about her business, and just stuff like that. And then Coach Mitchell, he's a good recruiter. My freshman year, we had 7 McDonald's All-Americans. Didn't go too far in the tournament, but still, in that sense, we had 7 McDonald's All-Americans. Then the next year, we still had 4 or 5 on the team. So he's a great recruiter in that aspect. And then it was just, we had a good team. After my freshman year, we was all pretty ticked off that we got beaten that first round by Baylor.
Baylor was kind of good, though.
Baylor was very good at that time. Brittany Griner, Odyssey Sims, they were really good.
Yeah, they were.
And, we just all worked our tails off that summer going into my sophomore season, and it showed. I tell people all the time, like, my sophomore season above all was my personal best, and then, like, my favorite just because who was a part of the program. The noise we made that year in itself was a really good year as far as practicing, team chemistry, the whole soiree. So, again, I wish Kentucky nothing but the best, and I wish we would have won that SEC title my freshman year because I left with none.
Yeah.
And other than that, man, I love what they got going on in Kentucky. I love seeing Kentucky kids go to Kentucky. And like I said, I'm always going to be for Kentucky regardless.
So let me ask you this: you got there as a freshman. Now your dad, kind of a big name. You know what I mean? So did you kind of think maybe that freshman year I got this made because my dad's a big name here, and and he brought in all those McDonald's All-Americans? Maybe you just thought you were going to just go ahead and slide in there.
Man, being who I am and my mentality, I thought I could hang and bang with the best. So you're right. I definitely thought I was going to play a little bit more than I did. But again, I like what happened. Coach Mitchell, he didn't throw me. He threw me out there to the Wolves a couple of games. I got my experience as a freshman, but I wasn't ready. And I can look back and say that now. Like I said, battling a knee injury, I was overweight at that point in my life. So it was good that he kept me right on the bench where I needed to be. So then, like I said, for the following 3 years of my career, I really took it real personal to, double back on that freshman year.
So is that kind of challenge? Because, I'm going to guess, going Marion County and everything, there wasn't a whole bunch of challenge for you there. You were kind of set.
Yeah, no, we was very set.
So you get to Kentucky, that kind of challenge probably is something you hadn't necessarily had to face, at least in basketball, prior to that moment. Is that something when you're doing these camps and things that you talk to these players about, is like dealing with these challenges no matter what your circumstance is?
Oh, of course. Like my last 2 camps in Danville, I was getting kind of tight with the kids because it was a co-ed thing. So, boys tend to be easier on the girls. Girls tend to shy away from the boys.
Yeah.
All my life, I always played with the boys, and I think that's what credited me to be very good in high school, be able to take a hit, be able to take, whatever the student section might be saying at you, because, I have boys in my neighborhood that talked way worse to me. And then, so when you get to Kentucky, my freshman year, I remember my first day of practice, I walked in, and there was a group of, grown college dudes in the gym. And I was looking like, what they got going on? That's who we practice against every day. So I'm out there practicing against, grown men. Grown 18 to 25-year-old men out there busting my tail. I don't even have a chance guarding this grown man. But so again, I faced a lot of adversity, a lot of challenges. And the same with when I got to the WNBA. Mm-hmm. I'm a rookie, and I'm out there having to guard, 12 and 15-year-old veterans. I'm getting my tail kicked every day. So it's just part of what comes with it, but that's the part of it also. You got to want that. You got to want to accept that challenge. You got to want to step up to the plate and hit it head on. And that's always been the type of person I am. I coach middle school boys, and I was like, Coach Epps, would you play LeBron? I said, yeah. LeBron is going to have to check the ball with me and show me why he's, prove it to me why he's the best. Yeah. And that's just me and my mentality.
Let's talk about that Chicago Sky experience a little bit, because you was a second-round pick is what you're in? Third round? And I'm going to guess all through high school, even at UK, one of your ambitions or probably one of your life dreams was try to get that professional level. What was your feeling on the day that you did get drafted?
Oh, man, draft day was so emotional. I did a draft party back in my home in Marion County at my mom's house. So I had all my closest friends, Kentucky teammates, childhood friends, everybody that I loved and cared about was there. And it was so crazy. You're just sitting there watching the TV waiting for your name to be called. And so, the first round went, and I didn't get called in the first 12. Seen a couple of names, and I was like, that was a low blow, but I'll take that. Second round came. Still didn't hear my name, so then I started sitting up a little more in my chair man, I got to sneak in the last 12, and then they take 36 picks, and on the 33rd pick, I got my name called, and it was – I didn't plan on crying that day, but I ended up crying. I did not plan on crying on
draft day.
We
never plan on crying.
Right,
it just happens.
Right, and so I'm crying on draft day, and then just the whole experience in itself, man, it's one of them things where literally it's been a childhood dream of mine, and I've waited my whole life to get there, and then just to say that that's something nobody can ever take away from me, regardless if I barely played, regardless if I only played a year, that's something that nobody will ever be able to discredit me for, because at the end of the day I did it. Yeah. And that's not something easy to do. Not everybody just gets drafted to play professional in any sport they want. Uh-huh. And so, it was real eye-opening, though. I definitely got the rookie experience. I had to get the bags off the bus and do all that. I had to rebound for the veterans, and, I had to shower last or, first, go ahead and get out the way. So I went through all of that. And just like I said, being out there, I remember my first game of my career. It was a exhibition game. We're playing Minnesota. Coach throws me in there. I'm on the court with Lindsey Whalen, Simone Augustus, Maya Moore, Sylvia Fowles, Cappy Pondexter. I'm just out here with and I literally had to look around
yeah,
this is real.
Simone is one of my favorite college basketball players playing at LSU.
Yep.
I did a story on her former coach, Sue Gunter, when she was down there. Went down there when she was playing and got to watch them work out and everything. And I was just like, man, that is just crazy watching her play.
We played at LSU my senior year at Kentucky, and I left LSU with a Simone Augustus bobblehead.
Did you?
And I have signed Kyrie Irving's by Simone Augustus after a game where they kicked our tail. And I went to that locker room and got me a signed pair of kicks from Simone Augustus.
Well, that's pretty awesome. But that must have been a pretty amazing experience, because you are, like you said, you went and got a signed autograph, Simone Augustus, right. and then you're there on the court with her. And you got to not be starstruck at the same time you're trying to prove that you need to be there.
Right, and that was, a lot of my older Chicago players would pick with me, because I would be, I got a picture with Donnie Taurasi after she gave us 42. I don't care. Yes, I love her, and I've loved her all my life. And at the time, I'm still a 21-year-old kid, at the time. Y'all have been in here 7-8 years. I've never seen her this close, so I have to get over here with her and take a picture. But it was all good fun, and it was definitely one of the most best experiences of my life. Like I said, just to make it, nobody can ever discredit that from me. I wish I would have played a little more, but that's one of them things. The good thing about the WNBA is I could be back next year, I could be back in 3 years, or whatever the case may be.
So did you consider going overseas and playing?
I did go overseas. And see, that's a lot of people. Yeah, so I was overseas, but I did the shorter stint. So normally overseas goes from the WNBA ends around October. Normally you go from October to April, the full 8-month soiree. I got switched agents. I had some agency issues, so I had to drop an agent, pick up an agent. So I was actually in Beirut from January 2018 to March 2018.
Gotcha.
So I spent 60 long days. I'll never forget them because I journaled them. I spent 60 long
That's
days
smart.
in Beirut. Yeah, and it's so crazy because like I was just telling the kids where that bombing happened that's going around nationwide. I didn't live too far from there.
Yeah.
And so I reached out to all my teammates and my coaches from down that way and just checked in with them. But, yeah, I did spend 2 months overseas.
That must have been a pretty mind-boggling experience when you saw that last week.
Yeah. Yeah, it was deep, because when I was over there, they had told me, like, we're at war with Israel right now. And I was like, that's great. It's great that y'all just say it so casually. And here I am, an American, 17,000 miles away from my house. I need to be on the first plane back quick. But, like I said, Beirut, it was definitely third world country. So I definitely got to realize how blessed we truly are, even though when we don't think we are, as far as, like, just clean air and the surfaces. They look out their windows and you can see the smog and the pollution.
Yeah.
They don't have garbage man and garbage truck. All their landfills just right there in the streets. We think that poverty and how we're living so bad when they got kids and stuff running around begging for money. So it's just, it really gave me an insight deeper, because a lot of times we as Americans get real, overzealous or cocky and that we have more than other countries.
I like to call us ignorant children sometimes.
Yeah, that's definitely and like I said, that overseas experience really opened my eyes in many different ways.
So let's go back to the clinic real quick.
Yep.
So it's Saturday at the Hero Center.
Yep.
It's filled up, but like I said, I imagine you guys are going to try to work this out again. How do you kind of schedule these things?
So we're playing it by ear right now. The whole COVID thing is causing a lot of uproars for everybody right now. You don't know if kids are going back to school. You don't know if they're going virtually. You don't know who's choosing to go to school, who's not choosing to go to school. So, we're going to rock this one Saturday, and then we're going to look at the Andy Brashear stuff and the world stuff, and, if we can do another one in September in a couple weeks, I'm going to come back and do it again. If we can do 2 in a month, we're going to do it again. If I just got to do one, one a week, whatever, I'm one of those people that are all for that because basketball is what I love, and to be able to, I'm not just one of them people who, I don't have no credentials and just telling your kid to go here, there, and everywhere.
Right.
Like, I really enjoy what I do, and I love seeing the kids get better. So whenever me and Nate can get it figured out, I will be back.
Well, that sounds good. Nate, I think people don't realize how good our Boys and Girls Club is here, do they?
Oh, man, I mean, it's just one of those things you got to go down there and experience it and shake hands with some of those kids. They constantly need volunteers or people that want to come down and be mentors or just stop by and talk to kids. I challenge everybody to go by and try that and, get that experience for yourself. Now, not only the Boys and Girls Club, but the Housing Authority, what they've done in providing that building,
right.
That's
some work.
And that's where we do 100% of our GAP stuff. Which I probably come back and talk to you about in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
About what our plans are with GAP and fall sports. But I challenge everybody to go by and check out the Boys and Girls Club and see what they can do. Part of what the proceeds from this camp is going to go back to GAP and to the scholarship fund for kids that don't have money to sign up to play youth sports.
Okay.
I think you'll be seeing a lot more of this stuff from myself and from GAP doing these type of things, especially if what we don't want to happen happens, and that means fall sports be canceled.
Yeah.
We still have this as an outlet to bring stuff to kids to the community. So Makayla and I are working on that. I'm working on that with some other people. We've got big plans for the end of the year and the beginning of 2021.
All right. Well, Nathaniel Goodman with the Glasgow Athletic Program and Makayla Epps, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I've enjoyed talking to you.
No doubt.
And
well, let me tell you too, man. Thanks for always supporting everything that I've got going on. Always giving me a platform, to come up here and talk to your listeners. I really appreciate that.
Well, and I do want to say this too. I know the Glasgow Daily Times is basically gone, and we have a website 104thescore.com. We're covering local sports on there. Probably what I'd like to try to do is come by Saturday and get some photos. If we
Absolutely.
can work that out, and do some stuff like that.
Please.
As we go forward. So I'll stay
Be
in touch
great.
with you on that. And this radio station is, it's a local sports station. I know we run, syndicated Fox Sports on it, but that's the primary service that we want to provide with it. So I look forward to everything that's going on around here, man.
Yep. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I tell you, you're gonna see some of the best high school talent out Saturday. I promise you.
Oh, definitely.
Fourth region, fifth region talent, they're gonna be out here.
You got Ansley Adwell's coming to the show.
Dia Bradley from Hart County.
Yep.
Meadow Tisdale.
Okay.
Nia Rhodes.
And some Nia Rhodes. So it's gonna be. It's not just gonna be.
Right.
This ain't a daycare.
It's
they
real work.
This ain't just drop your kids off for 2 hours and let them have fun. These kids are coming to improve and get better. And I think the people that'll be there will see the work that Makayla does. Sure. She's great. She's great at what she does. From whether it's a 5-year-old or a kid that's about to be a senior in high school, I've watched her interact with all of them, and we're gonna have a big time on Saturday.
All right, that sounds awesome. Thanks a lot, guys. This is Brown Sports Bag brought to you by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
All right, we are back. I want to thank Nathaniel Goodman and Makayla Epps for coming by and talking to us about the event this Saturday at the Hero Center. John Butler's back with us now. John, how's it been going?
Everything's going good.
Well, good.
Good interview.
Why, thank you.
Makayla is, I don't have to say this, but it's true. She's one of the best high school players that I've ever watched play, and she was a heck of a college player as well. Just her knowledge of the game was incredible. She was like 2 steps ahead of about everybody else that she played against. Plus she was gifted, but it was. I thought her greatest gift was her mind.
Yeah, she talked about one of your fellow Greene Countyans, Trent Milby, her coach there in high school at Marion County, as being like a very smart, very intellectual basketball coach. And she said she had a great relationship. She was telling me this before we went on the air, and it just kind of strikes me that maybe they got along so well because she seems to have that kind of same approach to basketball. Like she just wants to know the game and knows the game at a level that maybe a lot of people just don't.
Well, yeah, and of course, her dad, Anthony, I thought they played almost exactly the same. He was an extremely intelligent guard as well. He was one of he was not the most athletic player that UK ever had, but he was extremely intelligent and just made shot after shot when he needed to. He always made the right plays, and I thought she was very similar.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome to get a chance to interview somebody like that. I always love talking to people who are just so ingrained in their subject matter, whatever it is, whether it's a poet, novelist, economist, or basketball player, whatever it may be. I just always enjoy talking to those people.
Well, it was a good interview.
Thank you. Well, so we're going to talk, first of all, we're going to kind of transition to, I guess this is a negative in some ways, or maybe in every way, I don't know. But we saw that the Mid-American Conference decided to cancel all fall sports and move it to the spring. That's the plan at the moment. And apparently this came out of an interview last week, or not an interview last week, but a teleconference, I guess, between the presidents of the universities in the conference. And apparently the president at Northern Illinois is a research scientist or something of that nature, or was, and had some real concerns about the things that were going to be going on. And eventually, it appears that all the presidents within the conference came around and decided to move fall sports to the spring. And then that led a lot of folks over the weekend to speculate, well, that was the first domino. But I think one of the things about the MAC that was definitely different than other conferences was its schedule is so deeply tied to the Big Ten, and the Big Ten was going to play a conference-only schedule, that they really were going to have a hard time filling out their schedules.
Yeah, call me cynical, but that's exactly right. I'll be honest with you. I think it had a lot to do with their guaranteed games had collapsed than simply for medical reasons. I think it's the loss of revenue that they're going to face by playing the schedule, plus with this overriding, I think the biggest issue that all these conferences are facing, just call me cynical on the medical side, is liability. And I think you combine those two, that the MAC schools are going to lose all these guaranteed money, plus the liability issue that's still out there. I think that's why they pulled the trigger.
Well, and I from the day that I first saw that some of these schools and conferences were wanting the players to sign these waivers, not to sue if they get sick or something of that nature, I thought that was a bad look for the conferences. I understand the point from the corporate structure side of things. Your attorneys are saying, look, you've got to protect yourself, and the money that you have, or your future earnings, and you're going to do this by either having these players sign a waiver or basically not playing, in these conditions. But at the same time, it's kind of a difficult situation, because I think the real loser will be the players if they're not, and not because of whether or not they get to play the sport necessarily, but just the having a place to be, the structure. I think they're less at risk on campus.
I do too. I think they're in a bubble. I really believe that the college is the bubble. I mean, in terms of all the people that they're associated with are going to be young people. So it's not like they're, if they go home, their risk of COVID is probably greater in many cases. And at least, when they're in the structure of a college campus and a college sport, they're going to have access to the doctors and medical personnel and so forth. And if they don't have a season, I don't think they have any of that. Yeah. And, at one time, if you asked me this question last night, I thought college football was on the verge of collapse. Now I'm not really for sure. I think the Big Ten is having some second thoughts. For the first time, I've kind of seen a pushback about maybe the need to play with players. Players are now pushing back if they want to play and so forth. And I still think the SEC and ACC and the Big 12 are definitely in. I don't know about the Big 10 or the Pac-12, to be perfectly honest with you, but I just don't know, and this changes daily. But I have been impressed a little bit with the pushback, and canceling the season that's a big deal. And UConn, the football coach at UConn said the only reason you play is money. Well, first of all, I don't think it's necessarily true. I think its opportunity is up there as well, and I think a lot of the football players want to play and they want that opportunity. And I think as long as if I was in charge, I would give them that choice. They are adults, and if they don't want to play, I would guarantee their scholarship, and they would have a redshirt year. If they want to play, let's play. And if you don't believe me about the opportunities, ask Joe Burrow what a year makes, and ask Kyler Murray what a year makes. The last two number one picks in the draft were not on the radar.
What you just said about the scholarship, though, is a real key point, and I think this is something you and I have discussed this before on this show, not related to this particular circumstance, but the fact that the scholarship setup, it needs to be dealt with differently than it has been in the past, because we've talked about maybe players should have an opportunity to admit to, like, they sign with a university, they go to the university, and maybe they should have an opportunity for a one-time free transfer or something of that nature. By extension, this particular circumstance, maybe it requires the universities to fulfill this scholarship, whether they're games or not, because the bottom line is we're supposed to be trying to educate these people and provide them this education. And I understand it's we give you this scholarship and you play for us, but if the university makes a decision not to play, don't penalize the student athletes. They do want to play, many of them, I'd say most of them. They want the circumstances to be different maybe in how the university or the institution's responding to them, but that doesn't change their desire. I mean, these people don't play a sport in high school and college because of because they got something else better to do, so to speak. It's because it's something they love to do. And they've
dedicated their life to it as well.
And so, right to the scholarship thing, I think if these institutions make this decision, they can't then also just cut off the student athletes. They still have, I believe, an obligation to these people that they told them they would have an obligation to.
Yes, no, I agree with that, and I just hope, that, we said this back in May, and I guess back in April, that we was going to have to manage this just, clearly this year has got to be about managing this situation, and then, and how you manage it and so forth, and I think high schools are more tricky than colleges. I really believe that the college bubble, living away from your parents and grandparents, is actually an advantage in one sense in terms of playing, because you're not taking it back home to anybody because you're living together.
Yeah.
And there is enormous political pressure on both sides, and on what to do, and liability is a real issue. It's one thing about worrying about people get sick, but is there any real evidence that they're going to be more likely to get sick by playing than not playing? And I don't know if that's been thought through or not. I mean, are there kids that if they just cancel football, they're just going to live in their dorm and never get out, or what?
Yeah. Part of this we're going to come back to in our final segment when we talk about the NBA and the MLB and how things are going there. But one of the discussions I've had with people in the last couple of weeks is that what has happened with Major League Baseball is that we've seen it can be played.
Yes.
There seems to be no intertransmission between teams. The thing that seems to happen is when people slip up within a team and then bring the virus within the team. And those are the circumstances that we have these breakouts. And so if the sports aren't – I know people are going to make mistakes, but what seems to have happened in Major League Baseball is some people didn't take it as seriously as they should, and when their teams miss some games and that kind of thing, it seems that the players and the staffs of these teams have, tightened up on themselves.
Right. And the two teams that have been hit hard in baseball has been St. Louis and the Marlins, and now St. Louis hadn't played forever.
Yeah.
But that's the only two teams. Now, what makes it trickier in baseball is that you play every day. Mm-hmm. So therefore, a virus can knock out about 10 games.
Yeah.
If you only play once a week, it's a little bit different than playing every day, and that's what's that's hurt the kind of the baseball schedule with two teams.
Yeah. Well, and so one thing that could happen, like I said, we'll come back to this in a little bit, but one thing that could happen is we could see universities decide to play within a conference schedule, but, if a game gets scratched, it gets scratched, and you just move on to the next week.
Yep.
They
could.
Yeah. That would seem to be the way to go instead of just shutting everything down, but, I'm not really in charge of those things.
Well, I'm not either, and listen, these are difficult decisions, and good gracious, I wouldn't want to be making those decisions. I'm just kind of commenting on them, but these are not decisions that you just take lightly, and I think sometimes I forget when I'm thinking about these issues, because I want sports so bad, and I think it's important for our young people and our country to play. I think sometimes that we forget there are risks to play, and there's also risk and consequences not to play and to shut things down. And I think sometimes we forget the major consequences, social consequences, economic consequences, and so forth of not playing something as well.
Well, and the decision makers, that's what they're doing. They're weighing those risks, and they're deciding on one side or the other those risks, which is more detrimental.
Right, because it's still the one deal with the medical issue is even though it does not appear to be near as deadly as it was, and especially if you're young, it does not appear to have that huge of effect on people. The one issue that's still a little unclear is the long-term effect, and that's still an issue that I don't think we're 100% sure about that part.
Well, and we won't be until we get down the long-term path some and can look back,
that's correct,
scientifically and examine these things.
Yep.
All right, this is Brown Sports Bag brought to you by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
Well, John, while we discuss other high school sports that are still tentatively scheduled to begin practice on August 24th and are doing workouts right now, again, golf is rolling right along. On Saturday, the Marion County Trojanettes hosted their invitational, and the Glasgow Lady Scotties shot 318 to win the event. Abby Lee won. She shot a 74. I think they played a par 71, so it was 3 over 74. But she also got help from her teammates. Allie McCoy and Nina McMurtry both shot 78, and Bailey.
You're going to win a lot of tournaments if you're 74, 78, 78.
Yeah, that was their best day yet. They've played in some pretty strong tournaments, and that was their best day yet. And Bart Roberts, their coach, he was really pleased, and well, he should have been. We knew coming in. Now, last year, Abby Lee and Allie McCoy both made the state tournament, and Nina McMurtry missed that cut. But Nina had played well during the summer, during her summer tours. So we knew kind of coming into the season that Abby and Nina had been playing well, and Allie McCoy stepped up on Saturday. And look, they were playing at the Barren River State Resort Park, and that course is not easy.
No, it's not. It's not easy to play, and it's in particular, it's not easy to play when you got to walk 18. That's a challenging walk just in itself. So those three scores are really good.
Yeah, they. I think South Warren may have finished second. Barron had an A and a B team in it, and to be honest with you, their A team struggled a little bit. They're still without Bree Russell, and they play again Taylor County at Campbellsville Country Club on Friday. It's the Taylor County Invitational that was canceled on August 1. It's been rescheduled for Friday. Bree Russell will be back. I'm sure she's their usual low round, and I'm sure she'll bring some, extra motivation and to the squad and that kind of thing. So I imagine they'll get it turned around. I know they've struggled a little bit and did on Saturday to start the season.
Yeah, it's a tough course. So Barren River, and but like you mentioned, they have both Glasgow and Barron has started off by playing some good competition. Both schools went up to E-Town and play, I believe, and they played in the Glasgow tournament, and both played in the Barron tournament, and the Taylor County one, which is the home of J.B. Holmes. That's a good course as well that attracts a lot of good players.
Yeah. So we're off to a good start on the golf season. The boys have been playing as well. They've been playing tournaments to this point, but this week both Barron and Glasgow are starting some match play. I think Barron was hosting Allen County, like right now, maybe if they've managed to get it in for the weather. And they're going to play, I think, maybe at Allen tomorrow. I think Glasgow is playing Monroe tomorrow. So the boys are playing as well and doing pretty well. Both teams are doing all right so far. So
yeah, both teams are young too.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Meanwhile, though, professional golf, we had our first major of the season right over the weekend, the PGA Championship, and I guess that was pretty exciting stuff.
Great TV event. Golf, especially a major on the West Coast, is just perfect in terms of watching, because the leaders really don't go off to about 4 o'clock, and you can come in and from 4 to 10 o'clock at night and watch it, and it is, that's the best of the best, I'll be honest with you. And it was exciting, and Tiger made the cut, but he wasn't in contention, but you had DJ was in it, to the very end. He led going into the last round, and Brooks Koepka, was trying to go for a three-peat, and but out of nowhere is the young gun, 23 years old. What's his name? Colin Morikawa.
Yeah.
Just was fantastic down the stretch, and it was really fun to watch. And I'm not somebody that just will stare and watch golf all the time or whatever, but the majors I really like, and especially I like the West Coast coverage and the time situation.
Yeah, so golf is rolling right along, both at the high school and professional level, and things seem to be going pretty well overall. Hopefully there was a governor's call today, or call with superintendents and a recommendation to not open schools who in person until September 28th. We don't know right now how this is going to affect fall sports. We don't know how it's going to affect anything. We'll get some more guidance from the KHSA. Technically, they're supposed to meet again on 10 days from today on August 20th. We'll see the day's call with superintendent that expedites that. So keep your fingers crossed that fall sports is able to stay on some sort of path that it's on right now. As we talked about with the college, we think it's better for everybody if at least we can have some sort of routines both within the schools and within the fall sports. But it's not really up to us, I guess. I mean, we're here to provide the information when we get it.
That's right. We'll have to wait and see.
Yep. Well, this is Brown Sports Bag, brought to you by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
Well, John, so far what we've seen is that the Cincinnati Reds are 7-9. They're in the hunt, I guess, as best you can be.
Yeah.
Things are. I mean, it's kind of interesting. I know we only have a 60-game season, and it's a shortened season and all that kind of jazz, but it's a very red season so far.
Yeah, the Reds are they're so frustrating. I mean, they're the most frustrating team. If you're a Reds follower, I mean, they've got to just drive you crazy. They don't seem they're so much better in terms of their pitching and their roster, but they play the same way. Their bullpen has been atrocious. But they're 7-9, and that's not going to cut it.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, in the NL right now, I mean, it would cut it, except for, I think, to me, like one of the things that surprises me, the Colorado Rockies are 11-4. Otherwise, it's kind of like the usual suspects in the National League. But I didn't see the Colorado Rockies taking advantage of this particular.
Well, they historically get off to a good start. They just finish terrible, so maybe this 60 game is perfect for them. But yeah, the Dodgers are good. San Diego's better than they've been in a long time. They got a lot of good young players.
Yeah,
Cubs are good, 10-3. Atlanta has been red hot, and I think the only other surprise in the National League is Miami. Somehow they're 7-3.
Yeah, well, that's just because they didn't have to play those other games.
But at least they're winning the ones they're playing.
Yeah, they were somewhat losers off the field, not on the field. But so they I don't know. I know they're going to do some of these doubleheader things, and I give them a chance to make up those games. I guess we'll see how they hold up under that circumstance.
That's true.
And then the AL again, pretty much chalk. I didn't even write them down here because when I looked down the list, I was like, oh, it looks like the American League to me.
It is. I mean, Oakland's is the hottest team. They're 12-4, but
yeah.
Yankees and Tampa Bay are, Yankees are in first. I guess Detroit is a little bit of a surprise. They're 8-5. But yeah, not much change. Minnesota's really good.
In the NBA, their 8-game regular season schedule that they brought back when they went into the bubble at Disney World ends, I believe it's Thursday, and so they'll be wrapping up the regular season, and the playoffs, I believe, will begin on Monday. I believe that's August 17th. So, nothing really changed there except for what's interesting is this little blip here has allowed the Portland Trailblazers to suddenly become the Portland Trailblazers that we saw last year. And Damian Lillard is lighting things up.
They're healthy. Yeah, they're healthy, and they've played really well. And give them credit, and they put themselves in position to make the playoffs. They'll have to play a play-in game, but looks like to me they're going to be a better team than Memphis.
Oh yeah, it'll be a real shame. I mean, because I think part of the Pelicans being included in this was so we got
Pelicans didn't even try.
I know, what a disappointment. I mean,
it really is. I mean, Zion Williamson has set out 3 of the 8 games. They've already announced he's not even playing tomorrow. I mean, it's been odd to say the least. They
should have gotten expelled. They should have gotten kicked out of Disney World.
Yeah, I mean, it's just his treatment has been very, very strange, to be honest with you. He is, he's got a lot of star power, but he didn't play he misses a lot of games, college and pros.
Yeah. Meanwhile, though, John Morant has been as
he don't miss games. John Morant plays.
Yeah, and the problem is the Grizzlies aren't actually that good. I mean, they were in the hunt for the playoffs because, they've had things go their way, I think. But, I mean, when you get right down to the brass tacks of it, the Grizzlies aren't that good. I mean,
No, and then they lost their second-best player, too. He hurt his knee down there. So that kind of finished them off.
Right. So, I mean, I look at it. Meanwhile, the Raptors are doing well in the East. The Bucks are doing well in the East. And I was going to say, I look at it. You talked about the play-in game. I'm thinking if I'm the LA Lakers, I'm not sure I would want to play Portland in the first round of the playoffs.
Well, they probably don't. They're not. The Lakers have got some problems.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. They got some major guard problems.
Yeah. So I mean, it's this little bit has been pretty interesting, and it'll be interesting once these playoffs get kicked off next week. So, John, thanks for joining us. Thanks, Makayla and Epps and Nate Goodman for coming by and talking to us. Brown Sports Bag brought to you by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be back next Monday.
Thanks for listening, and be sure and join James and John once again next Monday at 4 for the Brown Sports Bag, a local weekly sports machine presented by McDonald's of Glasgow.
Coming soon to your FM dial, this is Fox Sports Radio, WCDS Glasgow, AM 1230.